Hello, fellow Crusaders, and welcome to our latest episode of the Wrestling Crusaders. My name's Sean Waskrug, and with me, as always, is Mr. JPO, Jordan Owens.
That's me.
Yes. We hope you guys have been enjoying the episodes that we've dropped so far. We have been enjoying talking about it. Today, we have a special topic episode. We talked about the landscape of WWE, AEW, and stuff like that. But this one, we're going to be talking about not necessarily just Roman Reigns, but the reign of a lot of these longer reigns that have been going on lately. No more, at least on WWE's side, and I guess AEW for the MJF aspect of it, but the reigns of people holding on to a belt for 3 weeks and then dropping it, or sometimes a week and then dropping it, is greatly kind of gone away now. And we are now back to kind of what it was in the 80s and 90s, where it's like, oh, if this guy wins the belt, he's holding it for a while.
He's the champ, or she's the champ for a minute. They're running with it.
Yeah, exactly. But the way things have been now compared to 80s and 90s, is these longer reigns good for wrestling or bad for wrestling? And that's basically what we're going to be talking about. Obviously, Roman is a huge part of that. So we're going to take some time to talk about kind of each one to a point here, and kind of like I said, is it good? Is it bad? How long should they keep it? Maybe who do we think should take those titles away from them? What are your thoughts on the longevity of these reigns lately?
For the most part, I do enjoy them here. I definitely do think when it's hot potatoed, you start to care less. You know what I mean? We've had a lot of great champions on paper, but as far as the reigns, we're just kind of whatever. And now I think arguably Gunther. As far as like the IC, I don't know if you can name a better IC champ in the last 10 years because, and no one else, even when they're great wrestlers and necessarily get a chance to, have a great reign, if you will.
Yeah.
And then you have other things like Roman, which is a really particularly interesting case because then you have the discussion of how he doesn't really defend it. So might have a different opinion on that. But as far as someone like a Rhea or someone who goes there, for the most part, I like it. Sometimes, though, as far as the bad, if you want to go on the opposite, just real quick, and we'll talk more, I do sometimes feel that sometimes maybe there is too much placeholding. Like, as far as the tag titles go, it's been mostly, Judgment Day all year, and there's so many other tag teams that I kind of wanted to give a shot to. And maybe because, again, we talked briefly about it before, but because there's only one set of tag titles, I think that has hurt it, actually, has hurt the division. Because, we have a newly formed Street Profits, they're not doing much, already, and stuff like that.
And then now we got Authors of Pain back, and then we also now have the brand.
What are they going to fight for?
Exactly. We also have the brand new tag team of Tyler Bate and once again Pete Dunne. I got way too fucking excited when he came out as Pete. I was like, yes!
I was waiting for Paul to do it, but it finally happened. Yeah.
Yes, I hated the Butch thing of treating him like Scrappy Doo for that whole thing. Just pissed me off
because I guess he's short, man. That's all. Vince just didn't see it. He's a he's a fiery lad. I'm sure is what Vince said.
Exactly. And Vince and then you even have the whole Dewdrop Piper Niven thing. We're just like, what the fuck are you doing? But that's gone now. Triple H just had to kind of wait and go, don't worry, we're gonna change it back. But yeah, in terms of these reigns, I like long reigns as long as they're defending the belts. Because you look at Rhea. Rhea's coming up on a year being women's champion. I think legitimately, and you could chalk it up to she's defending the titles on house shows, and that might be able to bump her title matches up from there. But if we're talking about strictly televised and PPEs or PLEs, she's maybe defending.
We're gonna do that to the day we die. We're gonna call them PPVs, buddy.
Yeah, exactly. It's the pay-per-views. Fuck it, they're pay-per-views. But Rhea's maybe defended the title 5-6 times in a year. And I get and what I'm worried about is, especially now that it's Endeavor, right? Is it Endeavor who bought WWE?
Yeah, that sounds right. Yeah.
Is because they run UFC and stuff like that. It's like, well, UFC champs, they only defend the titles maybe 2-3 times a year. It's like, well, yeah, it's because they go into full on training and stuff, like boxing and stuff like that. So it's like they have to take that time.
correct me if I'm wrong too. I don't think I am, but I'm very ignorant as far as UFC goes. They don't have a Monday Night Raw, do they? Do they have a weekly show?
No, they can't because, like I said, the fighters have to
Right.
have
The
time to
point.
rest and
Right.
heal and train. Because most fighters, after a match in UFC or any MMA for that matter,
Yeah.
they aren't medically cleared to start training or fight again. Sometimes for a month to 3 months on end, depending on how severe they were beat up in the match. So it's not like WWE where you could wrestle on Sunday and then then again on Monday and then again and again and again. So it's whether they're hurt or not, they're enough to go out there and compete. Whereas like with UFC fighters or MMA fighters in general, they'll be like, "Oh, you broke your nose. You can't train or wrestle for 6 weeks, or you cracked a
Yeah.
rib, or you broke your hand, or stuff like
Yeah.
that."
It's a different field. It's not a good comparison. Yeah.
Exactly. And so with WWE, because like we look back to 90s, even early 2000s, even the 80s, we would have long reigns, but they were defending the belts every month or every week or every few weeks, stuff like
Yeah.
that. Like Seth, he got the world heavyweight championship. He's like, oh, I'm gonna defend this all the time. And it's like he just did that for like 2-3 weeks, and then he started to get further and further apart.
At
Stuff
least
like
these are
that.
the pay per views though. Normally.
Yeah, normally,
So
but
I
I mean,
couldn't argue that too much.
exactly. But we've had some pay-per-views pop up where neither one of them defended the belt. And Rhea was, or like it'd be like one of those things where it's like, and granted, I wouldn't mind if they kind of developed the New Japan format, which was like each event, they might wrestle on it, but each main event was dedicated towards a champion. So like, oh, if we don't want if Roman and Seth aren't wrestling in a big feud, let Gunther main event the title because he's the IC champion, or let Rhea main event because she's the women's champion. Let's put a spotlight on those titles. Let's not have Rhea be in the mid card or maybe the match before the main, because she is champ. Let's put a spotlight on her being top tier champ and let her main event that pay per view or what have you, which they'll never do. But that's what I've always loved about New Japan is they'll be like, hey, here's the IWGP junior heavyweight championship with Hiro or Hiromu Takahashi, which I think now it's was it Desperado? Didn't he just win? Despy? I think he just won it.
That I'm not sure on. Do not.
But he would be the main event of that show, and
Right.
like Naito, who's champ now, he would be on the show, but he'd be like in a multi-man or whatever, or it wouldn't be a title match, but he'd be wrestling. But they would give Despy the title or the main event because it's his belt on the line, and like I said, and then when you have pay-per-views like this where there's multiple titles, well then yes, obviously the world title is main event and stuff like that. But that's what my worry is with this stuff right now is we have these long reigns and the title matches or defenses are so few and far between. I mean, looking at like Gunther, for example, I think Gunther's they do a good job of building people up to defend to him. So that way it's not just a random thing, but you have like, hey, we're gonna put Ivar and Gable and who have you have four-way.
Right.
And the winner of that is going to face Gunther. Where it's like they don't do that for Rumble. You just kind of have to wait for someone to stupidly, get into the crosshairs of the bloodline. And then all of a sudden, boom, there's a feud. And then they'll tinker with that for like 2-3 months. But Roman's not wrestling a single match at all during that, which is where the frustrating part is. Gunther, as of right now, he'll be at 596 days this Saturday at Royal Rumble.
Damn.
He's not defending because he's going to be in the Royal Rumble.
Right,
But
so he's definitely passing 6.
Exactly. But in that 596 days, he has defended the title, not counting house shows, 20 times. Okay. Roman at Royal Rumble will be at 1,243 days. Okay. Counting house shows, he has defended the belt 55 times. Gunther's already almost halfway there at less than half of that amount. Just put preference on that. Hogan held the belt for 1,474 days. He defended it 358 times.
Is that a fair comparison, considering a lot of those weren't televised?
Exactly, but that's the thing. But back then, less TV and stuff like
Yeah.
that. If we even let's put it this way: if we even went TV though, it's about 156. So he's still,
Yeah.
and that's including the house shows for Roman. Roman, I think
I
without house
think
shows, Roman's at like 35 or something like
I,
that.
I think an interesting point to be made too is that a detriment to the long reigns, like a Rhea for instance, is they're saving the big names. I think for like a Mania or for something here because I think her talent pool, unfortunately, has been kind of small. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
we lucked out with Selena Vega because of where they were. No offense, to Selena Vega, I like her a lot, but when you look at her win loss record, I think I looked it up before the pay per view. You know, she hadn't won shit. All of a sudden, she got a number one contenders match and won because they
yeah.
were in Puerto Rico. You know, and then we had Raquel Gonzalez, kind of a good challenge there. Then there was that random 5-way crown jewel. There's just the talent pools. That's because they're saving Becky. They're gonna save Nia, and you know what I mean for Mania. But then it just makes the rest of the year kind of seem passable. You know
Well,
what I
'cause
mean?
that's the problem is that with Rhea, she's a fantastic wrestler and she has the
Yeah.
right to go out there and perform. But more times than not, she's just on the sidelines watching Judgment Day or Dom or whatever wrestle. And it's like, you know what? She's probably one of the better wrestlers on your roster. Use her. Now lately they have been using her. She has wrestled more. Like we had that match with her and Ivy Nile a couple weeks back, which actually was really good. And it was, and once again,
Yeah,
but that was
Test of Ivy.
and speaking to what you're talking about, random title shot. What has Ivy won since she had
Yeah.
joined the main roster? Nothing. She hasn't. I don't think she had
At
won.
least that was a Raw match. Like I
It
kind of
was.
forget that more than a major pay per view where they're like, she has a chance. Like no, she doesn't. She's
Yeah,
just
I mean, so
right
but
place, right time.
we have all these things. Like, why are we still holding off on her and Nia? We could have had her and Nia, at Rumble or Elimination Chamber.
Yeah.
The problem is that Nia's got a kind of a little feud thing going with Becky. So it's like you got to find
Right.
time because like Nia showed up, injured Rhea. We're like, okay, that's where this feud's going. And what happened? They
Right.
forced it into like a 5-way match, and they never really
Yeah.
went back to it. So it was like you have all these people. Like, why isn't Zoe Stark having a one-on-one title shot against Rhea? Why isn't Shayna Baszler having a one-on-one with Rhea? Now, granted, they might have had that a couple of times here and there, but they can build the girls back up. It's more just like you have 3 hours on Raw to do so, and you're not utilizing. You're
Yeah.
doing more tag team matches.
Think they need
Than
to.
you are.
Yeah, the tag division seems to be more focused on, which I don't hate, but at the same time, I think that's the problem is it wasn't enough build on that next class or that make enough credible challengers. Like
You're like, you
again,
gotta
if you'd
start
actually
building.
built Selena Vega, I would have bought that. Maybe she could take it, but you didn't do that. You just jumped right to it. You got to
Yeah, or you do what they do a lot of times, where if you have someone who hasn't necessarily been built up yet, you have a tag team match, and then she pins the champion, and it's just like, oh my gosh,
yeah, there's several ways to do
there's a
it.
title
Yeah.
shot kind of thing. And then, like I said, you have Judgment Day with the tag belts. They've held them for, oh god, I'm trying to remember when they took the belts from Sammy and Kevin. It's been a little bit now. It's been a little bit.
Yeah, they had the side skirts with Cody and whatnot, but yeah, for the most part.
Yeah, but I mean, like I think their last title defense was they didn't defend against DIY. They're setting up DIY right now, but I think it was against when they went against the Creeds, which was a good match. But why aren't they on SmackDown going against the Street Profits? Why aren't they over there going against Pretty Deadly? Why aren't they at least with Kevin and Sammy, they were going back and forth and they were putting on actual tag title matches with teams. But since Judgment Day's had the belts, I think they maybe have had like 3, maybe 4 total title defenses. And with, like I said, with Gunther, he's where he's at. Logan Paul's had the belt for almost 3 months now, and he's just now finally getting his first title defense at Rumble against Kevin Owens, which is what I talked about on the Landscape episode. Is SmackDown has no legit champ right now. You got Roman and Logan, who are champs, but they are barely around the show to defend the belts. You got Io, who also, once again, Io's had the belt for a while now. She's maybe defended it maybe a handful of times, but she's the only real champion that's like out there actively working. Logan hasn't wrestled a match since he won the belt. Roman hasn't wrestled a match, I think, since that tag match last year. And then you have Io out there who is actively still wrestling matches. And then you'll see that the tag titles are not over on SmackDown.
Io's it on SmackDown. That's it on SmackDown.
That's
It's crazy.
So where's the motivation for the wrestlers? Where's there, except for just fighting each other?
I just looked too. We are actually more than a month since Judgment Day is defended. That Creed match was on the 18th of December, so we're now at more than a month that they've had a defense.
Yeah,
and they're
and
not doing it on Rumble. So looking at a month and a half probably by the time you get there.
exactly. And it's like yes, we like longevity, but these champions have to defend these belts
To
because
do something, yeah.
exactly. I mean, when Stone Cold, Rock, all them. Now, granted, their title reigns weren't as long because the talent pool was so massive. I mean, like Rock wins the belt. It's like, yeah, but you have Undertaker, Kane, Stone Cold, Triple H, they're all right there. Like, if it's and yes, we don't want hot potato, but we also were like, well, dude, look who they're wrestling. Like, I mean, yes, Stone Cold is champ, but you keep going up against these guys, eventually you're going to have an off night, and these guys are going to take the belt. Whereas, like, right now, Roman has, granted, the only person that I don't think Roman's really defended the title against on his roster legitimately is AJ, Randy. I can't remember if he's wrestled Bobby or not. I can't remember if he's wrestled Bobby for the title. It might have been like a one-off, like during the beginning of his title reign or something, maybe. But I feel like Bobby was like always feuding with like Lesnar and stuff, and so he wasn't really focused. Yeah. But like you could have had a one-off match with him and Karrion Kross. Hell, Karrion Kross called out Roman that one night where he put the hourglass there, and then they never did anything with it. Like, let Roman go out there and have a one-off title shot or title match against Karrion just to squash that.
Roman and Bobby have never touched.
Okay, so that's 3 people on his roster that he's never wrestled. But just have Roman go out there and just wrestle a match against these people. They've done enough to deserve, just by clout of their names alone, to defend. Now, granted, Randy and AJ, they're going to wrestle him at Rumble with LA Knight, but they deserve at least having one-on-one matches. One, to kind of just boost Roman's, clout again to his title defense. I mean, he's been champion for almost 1,250 days, and he's, like I said, he hasn't even gotten to 100 title defenses. I mean, and people are like, oh, he's going for the record. He's going for the record. I'm like, okay, well, let's look at this record. He has to pass Hogan. He has to be champion until September 3rd. To pass Backlund, July 6, 2026. To pass Sammartino, May 4th, 2028. We can't go 4 more years like this.
No, I honestly, we shouldn't have gone the last year. I think they had the perfect story with Cody. I know Triple H really tried selling it on the scrum that, like, trust me, when it's all said and done. I don't, because I think you just wanted to keep it going, and I prove me wrong. I hope you do, but I think they flubbed it up when they could have had the perfect moment.
So do you think that Roman will be dropping the belt at Mania this year?
I honestly, yeah. Whether it's Cody, whether it's Rock, I mean, yeah, because I have gone from this is the best Roman we've ever had. I'm in it. I love it. To yes, let's keep it going. Let's keep it going. To okay, I feel like I'm not alone and like I'm ready for it to wrap up, and I've been ready for it to wrap up for about a year. I think we could have had an even better 2023 if Cody was defending, if Roman was feuding with the rest of the bloodline. I think that could have been such a better story than what we ended up getting.
I was one of those that was like you. I was defending the hell out of Roman's reign and the bloodline. I was like, dude, this is great. This is the best thing in wrestling. Like, this is fantastic.
Yeah,
but once again,
I loved it.
Once we got to Mania with Cody, I was like, you know what? I don't know if I want Cody to win, but I also feel like now that Sammy has left, I don't know what more story we've got. Jimmy and Jay are kind of on the out, so it's just Roman and Solo. Yeah. So if anything, they keep leaving these little breadcrumbs like that. Solo is now going to be the one that's going to turn on Roman, but I don't know if that happens at Mania. That it's like, well, yeah. So Roman only lost the belt because Solo interfered. It's like, no, if Roman's going to lose, he has to lose. But I feel like him and I wasn't outright mad when Cody lost at Mania. I was just more like, oh, damn, are they actually going to try to go for the record? Because it's like the record's still way the fuck off. Like, if he wins at Rumble, then they're 100% going for the record, which means that we're going to have to go through SummerSlam before he can pass Hogan. And so at that point, it's like you've just locked SmackDown in once again to nothing. So as much as I've appreciated the reign of Roman, this last year has been lackluster at best. I mean, he could have lost it against Drew at Clash. He could have dropped it to Cody at Mania. He could have dropped it to Jay at that one point. Like there have been times where it's like they have built up or even dropped it to Sammy, but that was right before Mania, so we kind of all knew that wasn't going to happen. But the time has come that Roman needs to start chasing again instead of just laying back and not doing anything. Whether it's against Cody, Punk, Rock, as much as I love The Rock, I don't want Rock winning the belt because then he's just a placeholder champion. Like if Rock has to wrestle at Mania, then I would have Rock and Roman main event night 1, and then have Cody take the belt on night 2. Just so that way we could have a dual dosage of it. But then you could have Roman go, well, I lost because I had to wrestle 2 nights in a row. Okay, yeah, but you still lost straight up. Because apparently, Rock, like I said, unless they're gonna do Elimination Chamber, which once again, Roman is currently not booked for Chamber. So like I said, usually when they say he's not booked for it, he's not gonna be booked for it. Because right now, as of we won't know until Monday, but as of right now, the World Heavyweight title is in flux because of Seth's injury. Whether or not he can keep keeping this champion or not, that's a whole other thing, and that's going to change the whole facet of what's going on with Roman. Unless they are locked in, like this is what's happening with Roman, whether Seth is there or not. Because if Seth can't wrestle, okay, well, obviously Punk, Punk's definitely going to be in that moment. But who's Punk going to wrestle? Are they just going to completely re-scrap everything and do something else? Are we going to have Punk and Cody and then do Rock Roman? Or are we going to have Punk, against Jay? Like, we don't know what's going to happen. Punk against Drew, because Drew deserves it just as much as anybody else. There's all this influx now, literally, that's waiting on the hinge of what's going to happen with Seth. And whether he can go or not. But even still, if Seth can go, you pretty much have already telling us that there's a very, very slim chance Seth is going to hold on to the title when we get to Mania, because he is going to need some rest. Whereas Roman's...
Oh, yeah, that's true, too.
Roman's getting plenty of rest. So what are we going to do? Whereas even with Rhea...
He's a well-rested boy.
Exactly. Rhea, they already teased it, that Becky will probably win Rumble. And that'll be a great match. But here's the thing. Does Becky need the title? Or should we keep building Rhea's reign up higher by beating Becky? We don't know. EO, I feel like everyone kind of has a general idea of what's going to happen with EO, which is they're going to turn on Bayley, and then Bayley will probably go after EO, which I'm all for. I'm sure Charlotte probably had something planned before Charlotte's knee basically got obliterated. And then you got Bianca sitting there too. What's Bianca going to do? The big question mark for me right now, because like with Roman, we're like, okay, we know who, like we got a pool of people who we know is going to beat Roman. We got a pool of people who we probably know is going to beat Rhea. It's probably going to be Becky. EO probably going to be Bayley or Bianca. Who would you pick to dethrone Gunther right now?
Mm-hmm.
I've heard rumors. I've heard rumors of what his Mania match is going to be, which is potentially Brock will come back and wrestle Gunther. Yeah. But I don't want Brock winning that. I want Gunther beating Brock. So at that point, Brock just lost to Gunther. Gunther just beat the Beast. Who do you have beat Gunther? Or outside of Gunther doing the which I also didn't hate this when TNA did this, where it was like was it the X Division champion? They had the ability to they turned their belt over to get a title shot.
That's one of the suggestions I made was, you could very well just keep the strap on him and have him go, all right, I've done everything I can. I want a world title shot. And either vacate it or be a double champ, or at least a proposed.
Well, what they could very well do is they could do the Ultimate Warrior thing, where he was IC champ, he beat Hogan, and like, look, you can't have both. And then they released the IC title. The same thing with Asuka when she left NXT. It's like, okay, you're gonna have to relinquish this belt. We're gonna have a tournament or what have you, and that's gonna be the new champion. And Gunther never lost the belt, which honestly, at this point, I kind of feel like that's what they need to have. But let's say they don't have him relinquish it, and he has to lose it. Who right now would you put up there to have Gunther lose the belt?
The only one, you could build up other people here. You could rebuild a Chad Gable or like a Montez for it, but the only one I think it could be ready right now, a similar idea is another champ. Let's bring in Ilya Dragunov.
And that's my favorite. That's my favorite one. Is Dragunov drops the belt to Uh,
You got Trick right now.
is it Trick? Is it Trick who he's
Yeah,
wrestling for?
Trick's got a shot soon.
Yeah, so you have Dragunov drop it to Trick, because Trick's not ready to go up yet. So you give Trick that moment, and you have Gunther like at Mania or maybe the Monday after WrestleMania, after he beats Brock. Go out there, he's like, I beat the Beast. No one can touch me. No one can beat me. If anyone has the guts, and here comes Dragunov. And you're like, because the only person that has beaten Gunther is Dragunov. You know, when he was United Kingdom champion,
That
he
is
held
a
it up forever.
great built-in story. I think Dragunov
Yes.
could be ready for the Reign roster. Like it
Yes.
all makes sense, and I'm down for Gunther taking the main title because honestly, who's been better built than that? I think if you don't, that's potential, wasted, character build because again, who's been better built to have a world title run? Even if it ends up being where whoever is the champ, whether it's they take it out, he takes off Punk or Cody or something, and they have a short reign. Like if it's a Gunther, I feel like that's not even that bad of a thing.
Exactly. Gunther has been the workhorse of this company for the past 2 years, and he's been so well protected, and not in a bad way. Just like he has believably been the champ, because the only other people I can think of, because I'm not going to give anyone who he's already beaten a chance. I mean, as much as I love Gable and I want Gable to win, Gable has lost like 3 times. Bronson Reed, great. Ivar, great. Ricochet, great. If I'm going to give a new name, and I don't want it to be Brock, Dragunov would be the favorite, and then the other one would be, even though it's like it would be a good surprise, but I still wouldn't want him to beat Gunther, would be Braun, because Braun needs to leave NXT. He's been there too long. You got to bring his ass up.
I thought you were thinking Strowman for a second because we got 2 Brauns.
No, Braun Breaker. Yeah. He needs to come up now. He's been there way too long. But in my heart, I would want Dragunov. I would want it a day after WrestleMania, after Gunther beats Brock, and have him show up. Now they might not have to wrestle right then and there. Maybe they build Dragunov up as like, I'm the only person that can beat you. I'm the one who knows how to beat you, and then you build it up to the next pay-per-view or what have you. Or Gunther goes, oh, you got to, but you can't just walk right in here and you have to go through Kaiser and Vinci and
I'd
build that up.
It's just in case people don't love NXT or watch NXT.
Yeah, and then then there's also the outside chance that you have Ludwig Kaiser take the belt off him, but it's like, but I don't want Imperium to break up. They're great, but like I feel like Roman dropping the belt's gonna be huge, but it's we've been waiting for a while now. It's past his expiration date on Roman holding the belt. Gunther losing would be massive because Gunther's still going strong, but he's already abolished Honky Tonk's record. And here's the other thing, too, going back to title defenses. Honky Tonk had the belt for 454 days. He defended it 36 times. Gunther's only at 20 right now at almost 600 days. So it's, once again, 80s, less time on TV. Mostly it's them traveling around doing house shows and stuff like that. But, yeah, that's where I would go with on that. And do you think with Rhea, if it's not going to be Becky, who would you have Rhea drop the belt to? Is it an NXT woman? Is it Nia? God, I hope not. But who would you have Rhea drop the title to?
No, Nia's never really made sense for me to have it to the title offers. Rhea is technically a heel, and so that's never made sense.
I think Rhea at this point is pretty much full on face.
She is, but she's still cheating for Judgment Day and whatnot. So that's what I mean. Like on paper, no, to us, yeah, she's a face. Like, you know what I mean?
Well, it's almost gotten to the point now where Judgment Day outside of Dom are faces and JD. Because, people like Damien.
Oh, I don't know.
People love Finn.
Damien's walking that fine line, too. Because, he's still kind of trying to catch it.
Because ever since the R-Truth thing has happened, Damien's been more like... He's kind of funny. So people are liking that. So it's like outside of Dom, just because it's like you.
Hey, and JD, don't count JD out like everyone fucking does.
No, I said Dom outside of Dom and JD.
Oh, okay.
Everyone else is mostly faces. No one hates Finn. No one hates Finn. No one boos Finn Balor. It's Finn Balor and Damien. Like I said, he's teetering that line, but with the R-Truth thing, he's coming over to the face side, and then Rhea's a fucking face. And so it's like Judgment Day is almost like the New Day, where you were hated, but now it's like, okay, these guys are just too fun to boo them now.
They're too talented, yeah.
Yeah, and then you got JD and Dom over here. Like the R-Truth thing, I thought has been perfect. And
Dude,
I normally don't like when they do that stuff with R-Truth. I normally don't. I'm like, oh come on. But this has been
R-Truth.
gold. It's been gold. The other night on Raw when they had they go to the Druids and then you had R-Truth, like I was dying. I was like, that is
Everything was so good. He's
it's so
selling more
good.
merch than fucking
He is.
anybody right now.
He's got that green.
He is. He
I remember
He outed Punk and everybody. Yeah.
yes, I loved it when he passed out the money in the match and Vince picking it all. I'm like, you forgot one, and you barely caught it on camera. But Damien went into the ring, grabbed that one, and you see him on camera going, just sliding it in. It's like if you weren't paying attention, you missed it because the camera wasn't focused on it. But it was great, just great. Like just when I thought I was getting over Judgment Day, they found some way to spice it the fuck up. But I mean with Rhea though.
With Rhea, yeah, I mean again, you'd have to. I don't know if you could try to build Liv Morgan back up if she's back around.
I really would not want that.
Not a Liv fan.
Let's put it this way. I think Liv's a solid underdog character, but I watch Up Down Down, and whenever she's on there, she's the most annoying, childish person that it is now bled into her wrestling to almost like I said, same thing with Natalia with Total Divas. It's like because I see how you now. Granted, I know Total Divas is scripted as well, but how you've been built over here has now bled into how I feel as your character. Liv acts like a 4-year-old outside of the character on screen. Like they were doing this like SummerSlam thing where they were playing like Olympic Games. I don't know if you watch Up Down Down, but they were playing like they were playing like kids games and stuff. And Liv was the most obnoxious, sore loser, crybaby, and just pain in the ass. You could just tell that every wrestler there was trying to play along, but they wanted to go like, shut the fuck up, my god. And it was just like, you've just made Liv probably one of the most unlikable people for me. And so now it's like when she's been gone, I've been like, I have not missed her a second. I have not missed her.
But I don't have that correlation, so I'm happy to bring her back. But I don't really know off the top of my head who I would do. You got any suggestions for Rhea?
I mean, outside of Becky, but Becky doesn't need the belt. But then you think but then it was like, when was the last time Becky had the belt?
I would like for Rhea to win, maybe Becky get in the rematch. I would love for Rhea to get one more big Mania win.
Oh, I agree. And like I said, with Charlotte gone, but I mean, like outside of like someone who, like I said, is already there but hasn't been built up yet, it would maybe Zoe, but Zoe needs more time. Like I can see Rhea,
Zoe by next year maybe, but I don't think Zoe's there.
SummerSlam at the earliest, but you gotta build her up unless you're gonna bring someone in from NXT. But I'm looking at NXT's roster and I don't see anyone on NXT currently right now that I would put.
Roxanne Perez.
I like her. I don't buy her beating Rhea right now.
Nikita Lyons
can't stay healthy enough to actually put on a good match in NXT, let alone go up against Rhea. She looks great. She looks great, but Nikita can't stay healthy, and that sucks. That really sucks for her. But I don't see anyone on NXT that can take Rhea right now, believably, outside of like a fluke win, or like a Money in the Bank like cash in.
Yeah. Which again, very well may happen. Yeah.
Like I said, like Raquel made sense. Raquel made total sense.
Oh yeah, actually yeah, I think she might be the front runner for again. I think if you build her up again, which doesn't be hard to do.
But I feel like with Raquel needs to be heel. The smiling Raquel doesn't work.
That might work. That might be the thing to take down Rhea. Would be maybe a heel, as we kind of said. So
yeah. So, anything else you'd like to add for any of these reigns, real quick, before we cut this off?
I think you got to find a happy medium. I think, for instance, we mentioned SmackDown, and I like Logan Paul a lot. I like Roman Reigns a lot, but now you have two people that just aren't there. You know what I mean? Except for some pay-per-views. So, and then you don't have a tag titles over there. So, yeah, SmackDown's missing something, man. If anything, I guess because we have Gold, I was going to say maybe take the IC title. You should have. No, of course you shouldn't have. So, you just got to find a happy medium, I feel. You know what I mean? like I said, with Roman, I feel like they overstretched it too long. And for instance, I looked it up before. He went from 7 reigns or 7 defenses in 2022 to 5 in 2023. 5. I mean, that's kind of nuts, man. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
and in terms of Logan Paul, I mean, he's too new of a champion. But do you have him dropping the belt to Owens at Rumble, or do you have Logan continuing to Mania?
No, this is because this is his first defense, right? Like
It is, but he hasn't done anything.
But I think unfortunately, when you look at it from a business perspective, which I think Triple H does a little bit like Vince,
Yeah.
I think unfortunately he also he celebrates the title. He does bring it with him. He mentions it on the podcast. He takes photos with it at airports and like other adventures. I think they like that. I think Logan Paul has checked off every box that they kind of like. So unfortunately,
they just need him to wrestle
he's
more.
safe to at least Mania. Yeah, I mean wrestle more. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's really
and before you guys go, what about AEW? This is not a problem in AEW. MJF dropped the belt to Samoa Joe. Samoa Joe just won the title. Christian, granted, he's dropping the belt, but then he's winning it right back, which I'm actually like loving that. I love that he dropped the belt to Edge, Adam Copeland, and then he immediately snaked it back. I loved that.
It was a little bit too much coincidence for me that they happen to have a battle royal that happened to have a Money in the Bank type clause that they've never done before, and of course it was Killshot Luchasaurus that won it. Like little too much coincidence, but if you peel that back, cool.
Fantasy booking for me though, I wouldn't have done that. You know what I would have done is I would have removed that whole battle royal thing. Which, granted, on the pay-per-view, I wasn't listening. I didn't realize it was a Money in the Bank type title shot.
I didn't either. I must have been.
Like when he showed up, I was like, was this a Money in the Bank rules? I was like, oh, okay, I guess it was. And I went back and read. I'm like, oh, it was. I just wasn't hearing it. But this is how I would have booked that. Is I would have not done that at all. So Christian and Adam Copeland, even though my girlfriend still refuses to call him by his real name, he's always going to be Edge to her. You have them working, all this kind of stuff. He's taken out Nick Wayne. He's taken out Luchasaurus. Christian's all alone. He's got no one. Till Jack Perry shows up and helps Christian win. Because Jack Perry needs a father figure. And because he's already a heel. He's already a heel now. So it would make sense. And then he comes back and joins the patriarchy. And he's with Killswitch, or maybe he gives Luchasaurus his name back. And they're back to being a tag team, but this time they're heels. And Christian is back to having his whole family back together. That's what I would have done. I wouldn't even have had Edge beat Christian. I would have had Jack Perry show up and cause Christian to win the match that way, because Edge thinks he's in the clear. There's no one in the patriarchy left to help Christian. And then here comes Jack Perry. That's what I would have done personally. But and then all the other titles, Toni Storm, she's barely had it. Julia Hart been defending the shit out of that belt, so no qualms there. I will say maybe the 6-man, because the Acclaim haven't defended it a whole lot lately, but that's because they were playing.
They've been overlooked. Yeah.
Tag titles, Ricky, and they just defended it, and they're one of those like smushed together champions. But they've actually grown into a team.
They've grown and they've held it longer than I thought they would. I thought they were going to be transitional, but they haven't.
Yeah, so AEW doesn't have this problem. So that's why we're not talking about AEW. This is strictly a WWF or WWE problem. But yeah, we hope you guys enjoyed this episode. If you guys did, go and hit that like, share, and subscribe button to the channel so you guys stay up to date with all the latest videos that pop up on the Wrestling Crusaders. If you guys have not noticed, we have changed the name of the channel. It is now Crusaders Entertainment. Because obviously we're not talking about movies here. So we're trying to branch out a little bit more, talk about a little bit of things.
We should do a Wrestlers and Movies episode, though. Just saying.
Oh, I'm not saying that we won't. We absolutely will. We definitely will. We got plenty of stuff. And like we said here, just like Jordan said, if there's anything that you guys would like us to talk about, something specific topic related, like the reign of all these long champions or the reign of Roman, let us know in the comments. What do you want Jordan and I to talk about? Outside of us, shooting on people that we've worked with, we are pretty much open to talking about whatever you guys want us to talk about. Coming up next, we're going to be doing a look back at the Royal Rumble. What are our favorite moments, all that kind of stuff leading up to this week's version of the Royal Rumble. And then, of course, we'll have a predictions episode of what we think is going on, even though we've kind of been doing it each episode already. But we'll touch base after Monday, after we find out what's going on with Seth. Because really finding out what happens with Seth is really going to dictate where our thoughts are going to solidify heading into Royal Rumble this next week. But until next time, I'm Sean Waskrug. That is Jordan JPO Owens. And until next time, go watch some wrestlings and don't try this at home unless it's on your little brother. Don't tell mom.
So, goodbye. Mwah. And good night. Bang!